Now, real quick, I want to start off by saying that the soul is already inherently immortal, but there is a specific concept about immortalizing the soul, which I want to talk about is really freaking fire. I'm actually really excited for this video. Now, real quick, if you don't know me, yo, what's good? It's your boy Dot from Dot Me Now Coaching and Entertainment. For coaching, my links are down below. There is also a very cheap $10 Patreon down below. And on that Patreon, I actually made several videos about different domains, which different parts of yourself exist in. Watching those videos will actually help you get a very clear understanding as to what I mentioned inside this video. However, those videos are not necessary in order to understand this. Now, real quick, I would like to ask that you like this video, subscribe if you're new, and if you see the option, maybe you could hype up this video for your boy. It helps out a lot. Now, without further ado, let's get into today's video. Alright, so y'all know I had to bring out the chart. If y'all have been watching some of my recent videos, even yesterday's video, you guys know I be breaking out this chart a lot. You know what I'm saying? Now, here's the reason why. I want to show that on this soul level, right? The soul is connected to the personality, the character, and the self-image, which the body is also connected with, right? So you have your actual awareness up here, you have your mind, and then you have your imagination, which actually generates the character that you have. It generates your self-image, things of that nature, right? Now, why am I talking about this? This is because the soul can either be trapped on this level or it can ascend to this level, right? On this level, your soul begins connecting with your spirit. On this level, your soul begins getting attached to the body. Now, granted, you can still be a personality, right? And kind of be attached to your personality, but still kind of be separate from the body. But the personality, right, is the closest aspect of the soul, which is aligned with the body. Your self-image, your character, that is the closest part of the soul, which is aligned with the body. Now, that's important, right? Because when it comes to immortalizing your soul, this deals with making your current character become immortal. Now, here is what I mean, right? I'm going to bring in different things, mainly from Egypt and also from the Bible. Now, with that being said, in Egypt, there was actually a goal, right, that was talked about specifically in like Assyrian theology and maybe even a Noonian, right? Definitely Assyrian, though, where pretty much one of the goals was to become one of the Akus, right? The Akus pretty much meant like you're a being that becomes a shining spirit and you become a star on the body of Nut, which is like a star in the sky, right? Now, they did not literally mean that your soul becomes a star, right? Understand that stars are dimensional spaces. Now, why is that important? When it comes to your spirit exists inside of its own realm, right? You could see it as your spirit exists inside of its own galaxy. Now, the soul can exist as a star inside that galaxy. It exists as its own dimensional space inside of the realm of your soul. It exists as a dimensional space within inside of the realm of your spirit. So what does this really mean, right? Well, if your soul lives a life where it is fully embodying its spirit, then when you ascend, the personality also comes with the soul. However, actually, let me run that back, because your soul will always return back to your spirit. That's a fact. However, you can either bring your personality with it or the personality can get quote unquote destroyed. Now, this is not a literal thing. The records of every single personality and character which you have, they always exist. But here's what I mean by that, right? Here is where I'll bring up the Bible. Inside the Bible, they also mention a spirit, soul, and body triune complex, right? Now, There's a Bible verse that talks about how all spirits return back to the Lord. That's in the Bible. So what does it mean that you're going to go to hell? Well, hell is for your soul. Now, when it comes to hell, right, we all know that hell isn't like a real place per se. You can definitely experience hellish like places, and you can also make your own hell for yourself. But the way which they, or let me say, the way which most Christians perceive hell isn't fully accurate. Now, I want to bring up how hell is oftentimes likened to a furnace. What does a furnace do? A furnace purifies metals, right? So if a metal is impure, it gets rid of all the impurities so that way that metal is pure. So if your soul goes to hell, what happens is your soul was impure, and going through hell is pretty much getting rid of the impurities so that way your soul can eventually go up with your spirit, because your soul is an aspect of your spirit for a fact, right? Your soul comes from your spirit. And if you don't understand that fully, watch the video that I made yesterday, as well as my video about the body, soul, spirit complex. Because I'm not going to explain that again, right? Your spirit comes from your soul. Also, I recommend watching my video about soul fragments, because this video kind of weaves into that video about soul fragments, right? Now, with your spirit making your soul, if your soul becomes attached to this physical character, that means that part of the essence of your spirit could be trapped inside of that character, which is why you go to hell, because it pretty much burns off those parts of your character which you are attached to, so that way your soul can return back to your spirit as a pure essence. You see? Now, understand that if you are a person who pretty much embodies your spirit while being alive, now your soul is not really attached to this personality and to this character. You will still have a character, but you are aware of your greater aspect as an eternal spirit. So when your spirit goes back, right, to the Lord, aka pretty much what it really means is that, like, when you die, you're gonna go back to where you came from. That's what that pretty much means, right? So when you die, right, not only does your soul go back, but the personality associated with that soul goes back. The character goes back with the soul. You see? And now that soul is immortalized because the character is immortalized. Do you understand that inside the Bible, one of the reasons why Christ is talking about eternal life is because he wants this person to have eternal life? You see, your soul is already immortal. Your spirit's already immortal. It never actually dies, right? You already have eternal life. But one of the messages, and I say one of them because technically Christ understood immortality for the physical body as well, but on a simple aspect that's more easy to digest, understand that this personality doesn't have to die. This personality can come with you. You see, you can actually bring it with you after death, and you can add it to the kingdom of your spirit, and your personality will exist within inside of its own province within inside of your kingdom. See, your spirit has a kingdom, and every single aspect, right, or every single soul aspect which your spirit created can also exist within inside of that kingdom, right? Now, if the personality wasn't in full alignment with the spirit, then I'm not saying that it can't live inside the kingdom, but pretty much, how can I put this? The information of that lifetime still exists, but it's not the same as, for example, when I go to the kingdom of my spirit, I can literally interact with different aspects of myself that have their own past lives, but are technically still living within inside of my kingdom. And when I go to the different provinces of every single soul aspect, aka a dimensional space, a shining star, like in Egypt, you become a shining star. You become an immortal dimensional space within inside of your own kingdom, right? When I go to those different dimensional spaces, when I go to those different provinces within inside of my kingdom, I can interact with a certain aspect of myself that lived a certain lifetime. I can access all of its records. And the way that the province looks is very specific to that soul aspect. You see? Like with the dragon ones, right? I might interact with the dragon aspect of myself. You see? And inside of that province, it's like a fucking big giant cave. It's like a big giant dragon cave, right? You see what I'm trying to say? So my point is, when you are a person that is in alignment with your spirit, your personality comes with you. But a person who is very attached to their body and they're attached to the personality as not being one with the soul and the spirit, what happens is a person like that, usually when they die, they may have certain soul fragments which are still on the earth. Or they may go through certain experiences after death, which are meant to purify them, right? Because at that point, the true personality of the soul has become vastly different from the personality which the person took on with inside of this life. Because your soul does have a personality inherently, which is in alignment with your spirit, because your spirit makes a template for the soul. And the template of the soul contains different aspects of your spirit, which naturally give the soul a personality. But while being on earth, right, because like I said, the personality is part of, like, the character is part of the soul, but it's also influenced by the body. When you live a certain experience on earth with inside of this physical plane, you may start adding things to your personality which were never there. For example, being a victim. Your soul never sees itself as a victim, but when you live out certain experiences on earth, you may experience yourself as being a victim. And now you add that as a part of your personality. When you die, that victim mentality has to die with you. You don't take that with you. So if you become a person on earth that is not in alignment with your soul and your spirit, that person has to die, because that person isn't even real. You see, your soul still returns and the inherent personality of that soul still exists, like the authentic one, but the one you lived on earth, that one has to get cleared out. You see? So immortalizing your soul, what that means is that as a soul, you remember that I am a soul and that I have complete control over what character I want to be, and that this character is not attached to the body, and that this character does not have to be influenced by my experiences on earth. Once you realize that and you align your soul back with your spirit, the character also aligns itself with the spirit. And then when you die and return back to your spirit, you can literally make this personality a part of your spirit's kingdom. And now that aspect of yourself has become immortal. And now when you return to your kingdom, you can interact with that part of yourself, even if you're living a whole different lifetime. You see? So I love that topic. It's fucking amazing. I'm in this video right here. Definitely check out the Patreon for understanding different parts of yourself and the different domains they exist in. I'm gonna end this video. I love you. I'm gonna catch you. Peace. The freak out. You smell.